Shoshana Wasserman has been a big part of the success of the opening of the first American museum in Oklahoma City, which has been in the making for decades now. She's currently the deputy director of the museum. She joins us now to tell us about the grand opening last weekend. Welcome, Shoshana.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How did it feel opening those doors?
It was amazing. There were so many people that have been a part of this, journey for so many years, all gathered there together. And I think that camaraderie and just that, elated feeling was very contagious.
We saw all over social media people posting pictures in front, and very much the fan bonanza that you would expect. Maybe tell us about some of the people that were there.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of people from our constituencies and from our customer base. As you know, our constituents are all of the tribal folks, and our customers are people that are going to come to the museum that have an interest in learning about all of these unique histories. And so it was really the first time we brought those two together. And it was beautiful. We had fashion shows, we had tribal, demonstrations in the courtyard. We had a festival plaza that had, of course, our grand opening ceremony, but it also had all kinds of activities, bands, and then, of course, the amazing exhibitions that, everybody was coming to see for the first time. So really a beautiful moment in time after many, many years, gorgeous weather. And we just could not have been more blessed.
At its core, a museum is about storytelling. What's the most important story for people to take away from their experience at the museum?
Well, I think we're telling human stories. They are our native stories. They are all in first-person voice. We are continuing a long-standing tradition of oral storytelling that is, something that we're known for in our many cultures. We pass down knowledge, we pass down histories from generation to generation. And one of the things that I am so proud of is that we continue that tradition and we allow for all of the different perspectives. Even on grand opening day with nearly 7,000 people that attended the opening, we're all going to remember that day differently. We were all gathered there together at the same time, even in the same locations at the same moments, but we will have different perspectives. And history is complex. And I think that's what this museum allows us to do, is remember those histories with the multidimensionality that is a part of our histories. We have 39 distinct nations, different cultural lifeways, different languages, different stories of originating here in this place that we now call Oklahoma, or the many, many removals to this place that we now call home. And so I think what I'm most proud of is the fact that all of those stories have room and a place to breathe and grow here in this place.
Complexity of stories is so amazing when you think about it. And I think one of the challenges for any museum, especially involving Native Americans, is you want to have people walk in and see themselves, but you also want to see people from the community come away with a new appreciation. Those are different missions. How do you do on that score?
Well, I think we did some things very strategically. So one of the things for all of our Native participants, there were, what we call Easter eggs in the museum field. There were all kinds of things in the museum that were nuances, that were evidence of authenticity, of cultural knowingness. We have an all-Native curatorial staff. So we really infused all of that knowingness into the museum. And Native people walked away understanding those nuances. Something as simple as and this is just a trite example, but in our museum store, in the youth and families section, as you leave that section, it says, "Until we meet again." It doesn't say goodbye, it doesn't say thank you. Many of us don't have words for goodbye in our native language. We have that expression of until we see you again. And so there were things like that, all, incorporated into, by design, into the experience. And if you didn't understand that, that was fine. But it was there for the Native constituents. And for our customers who are typically non-Native and coming to learn about our stories, we wanted to be even though it is all told in first person, we wanted to be as inclusive as possible and welcoming. And we didn't want there to be any questions. There were all kinds of interactives that were added into the exhibition, like, what do you call, what's the, people struggle all the time. Is it Indian, Native Americans, First Americans, so we kind of met people where they were. And I like to think that we take people from what they think they know about our cultures and our history to perhaps a place that maybe they don't know or aren't as familiar with, but we do it in a very hospitable, Native friendly, kind of manner.
Speaking of taking people to what they think they know, Oklahoma's got some really sharp divisions right now over the role of Native Americans, especially tribes in the state. Do you think over time the museum will change that perception? Will help to change that perception?
I hope so.
I mean, one of the ways that happens, I think, is this narrative of excellence, of showing your neighbors doing extraordinary things. And that's something that surfaces in the story.
That's right. We started in time immemorial, establishing our histories, not in 1492, but with our origin stories and and we equate that. We gave people a shorthand so that they would understand these aren't legends and myths. These are our Genesis stories. So again, we meet them where they are and then take them to a new place. And we go through one whole section of the Oklahoma exhibition that is 500 years of history and time immemorial. So really much more than that 500 years of history, but 500 years of what they know. And then we complete that experience with the contemporary realities. And so I think that's important to create a balanced experience.
One of the customer groups I want to ask you about that I think is ultimately extremely important is school children. How much is that part of the planning?
Yeah, what you see right now are two incredible 10-year exhibitions that will be up. But what we were trying to do with all of our festival activities was to impart all of the programming that we're going to be presenting, because that's really what makes us a living museum. And I think we established a really unique partnership with the tribes, where each of the tribes will have an opportunity to come showcase what they're doing at the museum, and that will be part of that educational experience. Of course, we have to get back to a time where travel, is appropriate with our school groups. But there's lots of ways that we can deliver those, as we all know, as we're doing right now. There's a lot of ways that we can deliver that, but we really hope to be a really powerful resource for schools in educational curriculum, over the lifetime of this museum. So really important, lots of activities that were embedded, like I was mentioning, interactive experiences so that young people could access the experience, as well as scholars and as well as, museum goers or tourism folks that are just going to perhaps be there for 2 hours. So we really thought about our exhibitions with all of those audiences in mind, and we tried to deliver something very special to them. We're going to be rolling out a new experience soon that is basically a map. So for example, if you're a tribal member and you're coming to the museum and you want to see all of the locations in the exhibitions that pertain to your tribe, or you're a school teacher and you're studying a particular era of time, all of the removals or treaties or whatnot, you can access that information in a printout and be able to come back to the museum again and again and experience it thematically in a lot of different ways.
A long time ago, when I was a newspaper editor, I used to slip into restaurants and watch people read to see where they went. Do you do that in the museum world?
Of course we did. We had some informal testing going on already to begin and to begin to understand people's dwell times in different areas. Of course, our experiences vary in Oklahoma, which is the exhibition, that really deals with the collective history and contemporary reality of our tribes here. We have a lot of very rich media embedded into all of that. And in fact, in every chapter of that history, we have a portrait screen, and we have some members of our community who serve as your cultural ambassador. So if perhaps you're there on a sleepy Wednesday when there's not a self-guided tour during that particular time, you still have that connection to Native people kind of helping you experience the exhibition. And so it was very interesting to see how much time people would spend at those interactives. And we were really surprised. People would have liked to have spent more time, but because of the crowds and number of people, they had to move through a little faster. So we'll continue to study those things, but we were really, really pleased with how captivating the exhibition seemed to be for people.
Well, that just means they'll come back. Thank you so much, Shoshana.